Hey, um, feel free to, in the chat window, to introduce yourself. I see we have Lindsay, Anita, and Liz. Yay. So how this will work is, well, first of all, we'll wait a few more minutes for more people to come in. I should turn some lights in my office, make it look like I'm not a vampire in here. Lynn, Lindsay, and Liz, if you could practice writing something in the chat window so that I know you have access to it and that you'll be able to ask questions during the webinar. Hi, Liz. Yeah, Lindsay, I saw your first introduction. Okay, great. Let's see if anybody else was subscribed or registered. Oh, that's weird. What happened? All right. I'm gonna do something. I don't think it'll kick me out, but if it does, just hang tight. I'll be back. Oh yeah, we have quite a few registrants, so we'll see. We'll give people some more time to come in. Deborah, if you could type something into the chat window to introduce yourself, that way I know you have access to it. Same for you, Tom. Excellent. Hello, Tim. Hello, Deborah. Okay, I want to go ahead and get started. Let me say a few things first. First, I'm happy that you guys have decided to come to this session, and there'll be more sessions. And it'll be a great opportunity for people to ask their questions and to maybe learn from the things that other people are learning about. I have done a couple webinars using this system before. It's called Webinars on Air. It's basically built on top of Google Hangouts, which is Google's video conferencing system. If you have a Google ID and password and your computer has remembered that, that would be useful. If you want to come to these and there's ever a time when I want to bring you in to this big window that's here in the center so that other people can see what you're doing, so that you can share your desktop with us, you'll need a Google ID in order to do that. Otherwise, I'll be communicating to you guys via chat. So you'll put in your questions and then I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability, and I'll try to demonstrate things for you. There is a question and answer module. I just activated it a couple seconds ago. The icon looks like a little question mark, and you can put questions in there at any time. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask about right away, go ahead and queue that question up, and then I'll try to go through them in order. The session will just be an hour. It'll end at 1 o'clock. The session's being recorded, which is great. So if I show you guys something and you don't remember what I did, you can go back actually to my YouTube page for Will Ranney. That's where they're currently recorded. They'll be in Aboundant eventually. I just haven't set it up that way. But you can go there and you'll be able to see everything that we talked about today. Also good reference for us to know what you guys were concerned about and to go back and to see what problems people were having. Let me talk to you guys about the problems that we know we're having. Just having the hardest time getting our e-commerce system to accept the zero payment, the $0 coupon. We were able to get it work, but I'm guessing maybe some of you are still having problems. If you are still having problems, please let me know and let me know what you're experiencing. I know Tom Boomershine just listened to your message and you said that it thinks you have an Aboundant 10 subscription. So that's something that we can change. And then after that, it should work for you. We were able to get it to go through successfully and our tests over the weekend. And it's also not a big hurry to get that done either. Your free trial doesn't run out for quite a few days still. And you're not going to lose any data or anything if we're not able to get it figured out by the time the free trial runs out. Okay. So no questions yet. Can somebody confirm that they can see the question and answer module? Oh, cool. Deborah was able to get hers to go through. Great. Thanks for that feedback. Okay. All right. So if nobody has any immediate questions, then I will just feed you guys information. Maybe things that we didn't get to or things that you might find of interest, or I might show you how somebody else has done their website. Okay, Liz can see it too. Okay. Let me see if I can remember the questions that you posed to me on the phone, Tom. One is you want to get your content from your Yahoo site onto your Aboundant site. I'm guessing it's more than just that. I'm guessing that you also want to get your domain pointed away from your Yahoo site and onto your Aboundant site. Tim actually realized he could join. That's what it looks like when somebody joins in. When we invite somebody to be a presenter in the call, you'll basically see their face pop up there on the bottom. Okay, there's a question. Anyway, Tom, I'd have to take a look at your Yahoo site, but we can work through that. If it's not in WordPress, there isn't really an automated way to export it and import it into your new site other than doing cutting and pasting. Wrangling away your domain from them, if it's registered with them, we can help you go through the steps to do that as well. Okay, question. Can't get the calendar set up. Oh, can I get help putting in another calendar? So do you, Lynn, do you want to try to, use a different calendar system, or do you want help trying to figure out the Aboundant calendar system? And I'll go ahead and share. So you guys can now see my screen too. This is Three House of Wesley Foundation's website. I'm going to share with you guys so that I can have something that I can demonstrate stuff for you too. So you don't have to use the Aboundant calendar system. I think it's a great system, and so if you're willing to stick with it, we'll try to teach you how to use it well. But there are other opportunities. Pretty much any other calendar system you can embed into an Aboundant web page. It's generally not too hard. Google Calendar is the most common one. And if you just Googled embedding a Google Calendar, you would get a step-by-step instructions for how to do that you could then use to put your Google Calendar into an Aboundant page. But let's take a look. Let's see. I'm going to open this in a new tab. First of all, let's see how Three House is using their calendar. They're not. Okay, well, that's good. That means if we mess with it, it won't hurt anything. First of all, you can set the calendar up to view a lot of different ways. You can set it up for a weekly view. You can set it up for category view where people can see different categories. So if you want to separate like worship stuff from Christian education stuff, you can have a different category for each of those types of events. The events calendar will also do a mini calendar, which we don't have on display anywhere, but it's a really cool feature. It basically will put a little mini calendar. It's usually used like on the home page in the footer, that you can let people easily go through events just by clicking on the day of the month in the mini calendar. Okay. So if you're looking at all the events options, I'll go through them one at a time. And if you can give me more information, Lynn, about what you're getting stuck on, that would be great. But I'll basically show you how you can enter in an event from scratch, and then I'll show you some of the other features that you can use with it. Okay, so let's do an event. Let's do Sunday. Let's do morning worship. You can put descriptions, you can put pictures, you can put anything you want in this box. I think it's usually good to let people know what they can expect. Come as you are is a good one. Nursery care. Care is available is a good one. The style of worship. You know, you can put that in there. And then down here, you're gonna basically enter the details. Sometimes we might have all-day events, but generally we'll just put the start time and the end time. And then you'll notice the recurrence down is right below that. You can have it recur every week, but let's just pick one. We'll pick this coming Sunday, and we'll do 8 a.m. and we'll have it end this coming Sunday at 9 a.m. and then we'll have it repeat every week indefinitely. If you have worship that has a different time during the summer, you can actually add some pretty complicated rules to help handle that so that you still can just use one event page to describe your worship all year long. The venue. Okay, so here's all the saved venues. You can, they're also over here if you wanted to just look a list on the venues. This is one of the reasons why we really like this calendar for churches, is because you can actually do it to reserve, you can use it to reserve spaces in your church. Like if you wanted to reserve a certain room at certain times, you could basically give it a venue. So here we'll say sanctuary. And then for us, for the most part, it's all in the same place. There is a map view though, when people are looking at stuff, and we do sometimes have events that are not on church grounds. And so you do want to use the address, even if it's the church, because then people will at least see that dot on the map that shows the location of the church. You can have events outside of the United States. That happens with churches occasionally. And your phone number. Website is if you have a particular page on your site that's about that. Like if you have a worship page, you can put that page here, and then people will have something else that they can go to learn about the worship. Show Google Maps, show Google Map links. Now, organizers is another great reason why we like this for churches, because you have different leaders and different volunteers that are responsible for different events. And so you can actually just put the organizer for that event. We'll just nominate David Glenn Burns since he's already in there. And then people, when they're going to contact, you know, they can contact David Glenn Burns through the event to get more information about the event. If it has another, okay, so this is the web. Oh, I just realized I told you guys something wrong. So when it says website up here, this is for the location. So that could just be your church, the venue location. It could just be your church website. Down here is if you have a specific page that talks about worship, this is where you would put it. And you can just copy the link from up here in the URL on that page and put it down here. And then the final reason why I really like are one of the other a third reason why I really like this calendar system is that you can charge admissions for events. So we actually do this as a church. We usually like have a fee for like a youth mission trip. And sometimes there's a cost fee that goes along with some of our events. You can actually set that up and they can pay right through your calendar. There's other stuff too. One of the other ones that might be useful for churches is you can, there is an edition that you can put on that will let people suggest events. So they can enter all this stuff in themselves from the front end, and then it goes to you for approval. So if you want, instead of calling in to have to get a hold of the church administrator every time, they can submit their event and then the church administrator can approve it. And at that point, it will go on the calendar. Okay. If you want to tag your event, if there are special things about it, if it's a jazz worship service or something like that, you could do that. You could add the category worship. Hide from event listings. So this is actually useful. So if you have internal things that you want on your calendar, but you don't want the public to see them, you can actually just click this box and they'll still be on your calendar. So if you're logged in, you will see it. So all your people inside the church will see it, but the public won't be able to see it. And then finally, if you want a featured image associated with this worship service, ooh, that's actually a pretty decent image. I recommend that you do it. It's really cool. It gives a little bit of flavor. Okay, trouble with it not putting on the correct date. Okay. Hopefully this is still useful to you, Lynn. Okay, so I'm going to publish the event. And we'll take a look at it and we'll see what it looks like. And you see all this wonderful information that gets recorded about it. And there it is on the calendar. Okay, so Lynn, when you're putting in something, it's not putting it on the right date on the calendar. Is it off by one day, perhaps? Or is it the stuff that you initially entered last week that was working incorrectly? If you enter a new item, does that work? Let me unshare the screen so that you guys can see me again. Okay, while Lynn's waiting to... can you add a link to a URL on the events calendar so that people can register to it? Yes, you can. I may have to turn that functionality on for you guys, though. Let's see. Let's go. Let's go back and edit this event, and we'll see if I can find it. I'll share again so you guys can see what I'm looking at. So this is the events calendar. This is their homepage for the software that we're using. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can add to it. Um, community events is the ones that lets people submit events. I wonder if it's just part of the tickets. I think it is. It's this events tickets add-on that lets people register for events. So this is interesting. So this is a good point about Aboundant. So we haven't turned everything on. We've only turned on the most essential stuff because we don't want to give you too many choices to have to choose from. We don't want to clutter it. But there are other things we can do. So if there's something that you want to do with your site that you're not seeing, you can ask us and we'll add it to your site for you so that you can do it. So this is one of those circumstances. Okay, so when people were creating their initial events during the session last Saturday, there was something wrong with Launchpad where it wasn't working correctly. It was putting things on the wrong date. But if you do an event now, it should be on the correct date. Or if you were to edit an existing event now, just like I showed you making that event, you can edit the existing events that you've put in and you can set their dates correctly. It's something, there was a change in Launchpad. This is the other thing, when you use other people's software, if something changes with them and then you update it, we have to do a lot of testing, and we do a lot of testing, but we miss things. So that's something that we missed. But it should work now. That was a good question, Liz, about whether you can RSVP to events. It's like a virtual ticketing system. So it's not quite the same thing, but it does have that functionality. You can limit the amount of people that can register too. I don't know if you'd ever want that with the church, but at least it's an option. Tim pops up when he makes noise. Can you actually talk to us, Tim? Are you on mute? Can you say something if you wanted to? Now you're definitely on mute.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Nope.
No, we can't hear you.
All right.
No, we have this problem with staff meetings. Sometimes Tim can't talk to us. Because we use the same system for staff meetings for Aboundant. Who else has something that they'd like to know about? Does anybody else need help with their domain? I feel like that was an area that I actually did more harm than good. I think I just confused a lot of people. And if there's still outstanding questions about domains, I'd like to answer them. And I'd also like, is anybody here close to having a site done that they feel like is public consumption ready? I'm kind of curious about that too. So, I'll briefly show you guys what the domain mapping looks like. So on your dashboard under tools, there's something called domain mapping. And this is actually how you attach your current domain to your new site. And we'd like to think it would work without us having to put our hands on it, but currently we have to, because we have to add one setting on our end on the back end. Do you want me to go through event creation again, Lynn? Or do you want me to go through what's wrong with the dates and how you can fix it? I can probably just give you an example. Anyway, let me finish this real quick and then we can go back to this. This is the thing, if you were to call up GoDaddy and say, I need my domain to point to this, I need an A record pointing to this IP address, they would understand what that means. You could go through chat help with them and they would actually, GoDaddy is actually nice with their support. They'll do the work for you. And so that's pretty easy. It gives you the information that you need to point your domain towards your new site, which is great. But then you just need to email us and we'll make a little tweak on our back end, and then your site will slowly, it's a big word, it'll propagate throughout the internet, through all these different name servers that just hold names that point to sites until the whole internet points to your name points to the new location. So it happens over the course of about 48 hours. It's not an instantaneous thing. Okay. So, so Lynn, if you're looking at your calendar and you're like, man, it put all these events on the wrong date. You should actually just be able to open up the event, and then up here in your admin bar, there will be a little link that says edit event. And then you can actually edit, since it's a recurring event, you can edit series or you can break from the series. And so we want to change, if it's like worship service, which repeats every week, we want to edit the series. And then where the date is wrong here, you can enter in the correct date. Oh, the creation of the domain. Okay. I'm sorry, Lynn. Okay. All right. Okay. So there are one of two options. You either have a domain and like it and you want to move that over to your new site, or you need a domain. And then there's kind of a third thing. You also have, you can have more than one address pointing to the same site. So Threehouse, for instance, here could have like threehouseministry.org, Threehouse. It could have a whole bunch of different things all pointing to the same site. The reason I tell you this is because you're always going to have you're going to have the address that you want the public to see, which in this case is threehouse.org. But you're also going to have your Aboundant address, which is kind of what you use as the temporary address until you can figure out what you want your public one to be. And so that's what I had you guys, you set it up very first thing when I was talking about domains, and it's like your church name .aboundant.com. And so, and you'll actually always have that. That'll always work, but you're not going to want that to be your permanent address. You're going to want a domain that you can share with the public. And so I recommend that you use GoDaddy. despite their sexist commercials. And the main reason for that is GoDaddy has really good support. Their servers that point your web addresses to their individual sites are really fast, or faster than any individual hosting company can offer. And so there's a lot of advantages, and then their prices are competitive. Okay, so so what's the best domain name for a church? So it's really helpful if it has the city and the church in the name. So somebody had the example there from West Des Moines. West Des Moines Church, or United Methodist Church, that might be too long, actually, because you still want your address to be reasonably short so that somebody can type it in quickly and that it's more memorable. But if it was like Garner Church, Garner United Methodist Church, that might be short enough that you can put all of those things in there. Do you have to have all those things in there? No, you don't. Search engines are smart enough to look through the rest of the content on your site. You just might get a slightly higher search engine optimization rank. So if somebody's searching in your town, say you lived in Garner, Iowa, if they search Garner Church, they might get an address that says Garner Church in it that more readily than they would get another church. And so, yeah, and then we've done a couple blog posts about it. Thanks, Tim. I was going to mention that. And so, so you're like, okay, so is my domain name available? Garner, Iowa Church. And it could be .org or .com. People are like, well, .com, you know, that's for businesses. It actually isn't. It's just the most generic end for a domain that you can have. It's actually good if you can get both, to be honest, and then point both of those towards your site. And then if people enter it wrong, it'll still go to the correct place. Okay, so I'm going to check and see if Garner, Iowa Church is available. Sorry, Garner, Iowa Church is taken. Oh, no. I already knew that because I'm the one that purchased it. But it's good for an example. So then you can see all what the alternatives are. GarnerIowaChurch.com is available. That's great. That would be great. GarnerIowa.church is available. That's also really good. Although you'll notice that these kind of vanity .church domains, oh, they've .faith now too. They're a lot more expensive. They're $40, but might be worth it. And so basically, you would just purchase the domain that you wanted. You would buy it, and then you would set up that A record that I was showing you earlier that had all the funny numbers after it, which is called an IP address. See, GoDaddy already wants to chat with me about the domain I'm buying. But after you buy it, you could just chat with them and say, hey, I'm not very technologically savvy, but my website company has told me that I need this record. Can you help me put it in? And they'll walk you through it. They'll also handle your email. If you want email addresses that match, you can set it up through GoDaddy. The way that I recommend churches do that is to use forward-only email addresses. So you'll have pastor@mychurch.org, and people can send emails to that address, but then it forwards on to the pastor's personal email address. And then the pastor doesn't have to keep two separate email addresses. Although I understand that some would like to do that. So it's kind of depending on whatever you want. Was that helpful, Lynn? I see we have another question. Okay, we have slow internet in Oakville, less than 1 megabyte per second, and I'm thinking of switching to satellite internet so that I can work on the website more efficiently. Yeah, so I do know about satellite internet. The problem with satellite internet is they're going to cap how much data you can use, because you're literally having to beam it down from a satellite, and then once you go over that cap, it gets really expensive. And I'm not really sure that the effective speed that you're getting through the satellite internet is going to be terribly better than what you currently have at 1 megabyte per second. That is horrible, though. I'm guessing currently you have DSL. It's through your phone line, that 1 megabyte per second. And I'm guessing that you don't have any cable providers in your area. Cable usually has the best, fastest, most reliable, unless you're in a town like Cedar Falls or Waverly that's now getting fiber optics, which is awesome. I am very excited about this. Yeah, and then the other thing, Lindsay, is that with your satellite internet is the upload. So the download speeds might be pretty fast, but the upload speeds you're going to find are really glacially slow, because you're literally uploading the stuff to a satellite. And so unfortunately, when you're working on a website, you have to upload a lot of stuff. You're uploading pictures, you're uploading content. And so you may not find that it works much better than your 1 megabyte per second. It could be faster, but I'm not sure if you really get your money back on the expenditure. How do you get Google to find the church in their searches? So that's search engine optimization. There are about 100 different things you can do to improve your search engine rankings. I'll tell you about a couple of the. We should probably really have a blog post on that, Tim, at some point. I don't think we have one. But some of the most basic things that you can do that are really important, and I would say maybe outside of just having a website, the biggest thing that you can do is to make sure that your church is listed in all the directory, online directories that are out there for businesses. Let me make sure I shared the right screen. Did I? I don't want to share that screen. I want to share my second screen. Hold on. Screen 2. Okay, and so it used to be Google Places. I'm curious to see where that search takes me now. Yeah, Google My Business. So it's google.com/my business. And so your church is probably already listed in Google because they have lots of data on a lot of different businesses, but it probably isn't very accurate. And there's probably a lot of details that you can fill in. But the important thing is that when people are using their phones to search for a church and they're in Google Maps instead of on the internet, this is the listing. They won't necessarily see your website first. They'll see this listing first. But you can put one of the pieces of information that they'll ask for in your Google Places listing is your church website address, which will then lead people back to your website where they can get more information about the church. It not only will it do that, just the fact that it links back to your website will make your search engine ranking slightly higher. churches have an advantage over other types of businesses in that they're trying for local search results. They don't necessarily have to be the #1 church in the country. But you really have to make sure that you talk a lot about your location on your website. The more that you mention it, the more different contexts that are around it that are in stories or in pages on your website, the more likely you'll be towards the top of somebody's search. Yeah, no cable internet. I would bet, Lindsay, is your hotspot through US Cellular? If you're in a small town, that's what I'm guessing. I would bet that your hotspot is better than your DSL on average, and I bet that it uploads slightly faster too, and I bet that it would be comparable to the speeds that you'll get. You'll get faster download speeds from satellite, but I think the upload speeds you'll get through cellular will be comparable. And you could just tell that. You could look at the different services and say, what are the upload speeds? They're always really low with satellite.
Will, are you hearing me
Yeah.
now by chance?
I still can't hear you, Tim. I can tell that you're trying to talk.
That's weird.
Maybe other people can hear. Can other people hear Tim? It's interesting because Hangouts knows that you're trying to talk. Oh, I'm an idiot. It's my fault. My speaker settings were wrong. They were still for my computer speakers, even though I'm plugged in. So I changed them when I was talking to Greg last night. Say something now, Tim.
Okay, now it sounds like people can hear me again, so that's good. I guess one quick thing I'll say, this is unfortunately a topic that is kind of complex, and literally people spend their whole life, making their business findable on the website. But the good news is that for most of you, it's not as if there are tons of other places in your community that are being hit for similar kinds of keywords and so forth. So most of the things that need to be done are not too terribly difficult. There are certainly companies that you can hire to do that, including, for example, a lot of phone companies offer that now as an add-on service. Aboundant folks are certainly capable of adding that on as an extra contracted service, and so there are. But I'll do a blog post on that, and so hopefully in about a couple of weeks or so we can have kind of a basic answer for you on that.
That made me think of something else, Tim. So WordPress is easier than a lot of other systems. And in addition, we've made WordPress even easier. We've even streamlined it, and we've changed some of the functionality to make it easier for churches. But even after all of that, it's still kind of hard for some people. It's still kind of hard. And so what do you do in that situation where you just feel overwhelmed? Well, that's one of the reasons why we're having these sessions, and these are going to continue. I'm going to do this every week except for next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I'm going to be on the road because it's spring break here in Waverly. But we're going to do these kinds of sessions. And if that's not enough, and if you're still like, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, you can hire us to do the work. That is still an option. You can learn more about that. I'll give you guys the address. This is where you go to learn more about that. Oh, here, I'll actually make it a link. So, as ministers, as online ministers, as digital ministers, we want to empower you guys to do this work yourself. And so if you feel like you can do it with just a little bit of help, stick with us and keep coming to these sessions, and we'll keep on walking you through things. If you're really having a tough time and things are slow during these sessions, we'll bring up your desktop and we'll literally walk you through it so that you can actually do the work while you're in there. Okay, Tom. Okay, this is a good question. So Tom downloaded media from our media site, but it has the stamp on it. So how do you get media that doesn't have the stamp on it? And I should open up, we do an incognito window so I can show you what it looks like when you're not logged in. So media.aboundant.'s the site. Say I want this picture of stones on a beach. And I click on it, and then lo and behold, I go in there and it's asking me to log in to get access to that. Your login that gets you onto your site will get you access to the images. When you are logged in, and if you're logged into your site currently, it should also give you access to the images right away, even though, because you're also logged into the Aboundant network. Okay. If you are logged in, oh, I'm becoming a liar. It's gonna make you log in again, I think. We're constantly doing stuff with administrative logins, which give us more access, so we don't always see things the way that you do. Okay, I'm gonna log in as 3House. Okay, and then I see the images. And so now I want those images. I want to actually save those images to my computer so that I can use them. What you do is you right click and choose Save Image As, and then save it. I usually save things to my desktop so that I can find them again. And then oh, I opened it, but I opened it on my first screen. And so that doesn't have the watermarks on it. Tom, the way that you would have gotten the watermarks is if you tried to save the preview image and not actually drilled down till you got till the point where you had to log in and get access to the image. That way we can protect the copyright of those images because we paid for the rights to use them in a lot of cases. Paid for the rights for you guys to use them. Another question. Of the Divi tutorials on YouTube, which ones are the best? All right, let's share screen 2 again. I'm starting here at our support page because we've already curated some of this content for you. Learn about the page builder. And of course, this is just a link to the page that we think is the best starting place for how to use Divi. It's this page. So, and then even without having to go to YouTube, Tom, you'll get the official video tutorial from this page, which likely is hosted on YouTube, so you'd see the same videos there. All right, bye, Tim. But I would check here first and see what the video is here. And then if you are on YouTube, Elegant Themes has its own channel. And it's the first thing that comes up in the search when I put in Elegant Themes. They're the creators of Divi. And then they actually have a podcast you could listen to that gives you little tips about how to do things. It's almost too much information. You got to figure out how to take advantage. Divi just made a new search module, and so here's the video on how to use that. Post navigation module. These are all the new things that Divi has added in their last release. Divi has a new release with about 5 great features in it pretty much every other month. And we'll try to pass that information on to you. A lot of it's, particularly if it's stuff that we think is useful to the churches, not all of it is. And this is another thing they have called Extra. We use Divi, so you don't want any of the extra stuff. And then down here you get more stuff about Divi. So if you see that I guess the short answer is if you see that it's in their channel, you know it's an official one. So I would start there. Although there is a big community of people that are using Divi that are producing stuff to help you out with it, which is one of the great phenomenons with open source software like WordPress, is that communities rally around it. They have their own connectional system, just like we do in the United Methodist Church. Good question. And we absolutely, I already think Divi is the best page building tool out there. I've used about 20 of them now. I've tried out about 20 of them. It just doesn't have the front end capability so that when you're just looking at your site, you can hit a little button and edit things in different categories. And they're going to have that. They're going to have that within a year, and it's going to work way better than the other ones do. A lot of the companies that already have that feature in their software, it's pretty buggy. That's why a lot of them didn't make the list for churches. It needs to be intuitive. It needs to work fine. And it's not entirely intuitive. It's intuitive to me as a web designer. It's not entirely intuitive to churches, but it's getting better. And it is one of the better ones out there in terms of user experience, I think. All right, we have time for like one more quick question. I would add that we will be checking in on the Facebook group that's been created all the time. So if you have a question, you can put it there. And particularly if you have one that you think maybe subjective, or if there's maybe has a quick answer to it, or something that you think other people would want to know about, we'll put it there. Put it there and we'll respond to it. We're going to be inviting our existing subscribers. Right now, you guys are the only ones that have been invited. We're going to be inviting our existing subscribers to join in with that and with this. This is kind of our test run. Okay, I think we'll call that it for today. Thanks to everybody that came. You can always also send questions to support@aboundant.com. Lisa Larson answers those if you guys know her, and if they're technical, she'll either send it to Greg or myself. We're kind of the level 2 support, so we answer the harder questions, or Tim. Hopefully we'll be getting some blog posts going back that's in response to the questions that you guys have been asking. You guys will give us great topics to write blog posts about. Okay, great. Let us know if you need anything else, and thanks again for for participating in the conference program, and thanks to the conference for working with us. And I can't wait to see 13 new church websites be up. So please come to us if you're having any problems. We want to help you keep your momentum going. All right, thanks everybody. I'll see you next time.